Good afternoon and welcome to the severe weather briefing for March 17th, 2021. My name is Joseph Patton for weatheracademy.org and I'll be your guide today. Let's get started. Beginning with the upper level observations, there is a jet of strong upper level winds across much of the southern and eastern United States. We have a jet axis, which is this dashed black line here, extending across the eastern United States from west to east. And that is providing an area of upper level divergence, which is in this red oval, and that's associated with the right entrance region of the jet, providing divergence, which separates out the upper level regions and allows for more rising motion to replace that diverging air. Moving down to the mid-levels, there is a closed mid-level low over western Oklahoma and northwest Texas, circled here. That closed low is part of a larger mid-level trough extending from the Rocky Mountains into the western regions of the southeast United States. And that is providing some cyclonic spin or counterclockwise spin, which is being advected or it's flowing into the deep south region. So anytime you have that cyclonic advection going on, that dynamically is going to support more rising motion as that trough continues to move eastward, and that is going to be a major feature in what is supporting the rising motion and updrafts within thunderstorms in the southeast United States today. Moving down to the low-level observations, this is from the SPC mesoanalysis page. This is the 850 millibar height observations from 16Z today. The green lines indicate that we've got rich moisture with dew point temperatures into the 70s in Fahrenheit. Observed over much of the central deep south, and that's being advected by this southerly flow into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. That strong southerly flow is helping bring up moisture being fed by the Gulf of Mexico to the south, and that's resulting in our highest dew point temperatures in this area between Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. That strong southerly flow is also going to help promote a veering wind profile, which we will look at next. Looking at some satellite observations from early this afternoon, we can see a few things. First of all, we see some partial clearing here in central Mississippi and central Alabama. That's going to promote a little bit more warming because the clouds are not blocking the sun or absorbing the sunlight as they would be otherwise. And that warming is going to provide, for lack of a better term, more energy that can be used for thunderstorms later today. So that's actually not a great thing in terms of safety. That means there's probably some strong support for severe weather and possibly violent tornadoes to form. In addition, something else to notice is that we've got these streamers, these almost straight up north-south lines of clouds being formed right off the Gulf Coast. And that's indicative of very strong moisture and southerly low-level flow, promoting strong amounts of moisture well up into Mississippi and Alabama. We've got our partial clearing going on. Overlaid here is the SPC mesoanalysis for the values of CAPE, or convective available potential energy. And these orange contours here represent values approaching 3,000 joules per kilogram. So it's already being primed for instability in the atmosphere. So if you go through our ingredient-based forecasting, we've got definitely the shear there from the upper level jet. We've got the lift from the mid-level trough providing support for rising motion, and also that upper level divergence. We've got instability as measured by the CAPE here, and we have moisture from the high dew point values. Looking at one of the soundings from New Orleans this morning that was observed at 12Z, This shows our high level of moisture, especially in the low levels, with a dew point temperature of about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. In addition, we have, for an early morning sounding, we have an impressive amount of instability in the atmosphere, with already surface-based CAPE above 2,000 joules per kilogram, and the forecast surface CAPE approaching 3,000 joules per kilogram. That's trying to take into account how much heating there could be for later in the day into the afternoon and evening hours. In addition, our wind profile is mostly veering with height, and that's shown by our hodograph as well. It turns counterclockwise with height for most of the wind profile. We've got a high amount of low level, especially low level SRH or storm relative helicity, with these values here on the order of 2 to 300 meters squared per second squared. And that essentially means that the atmosphere is primed for supporting rotating updrafts, which may lead to all kinds of severe weather, including tornadoes. And one other thing to note here is that we've got this elevated mix layer where we have essentially a layer of drier air where the temperature is decreasing quickly with height, almost close to the dry adiabatic lapse rate, which would be these gold lines here. And then our dew point temperature in green is essentially following one of our lines of constant mixing ratio, which would be these dashed green lines. So it's close to the lines of constant mixing ratio for the dew point, and it's close to the dry adiabatic lapse rate for the environmental temperature. So we would call this an elevated mixed layer, or EML. And that mixed layer means that we've got strong lapse rates or steep lapse rates, which is going to promote instability, especially in the mid layers of the atmosphere. So that's why we've got our higher CAPE values. And this dry elevated mixed layer is being advected to the northeast or east northeast, and that's going to show up and be a player for our severe weather event in central Mississippi and central Alabama. But really, the whole deep south is at play here. If even in New Orleans we have this kind of instability, then certainly South Louisiana is going to be in play here too, as far as damaging severe weather potential. Shifting to some model output, here is the 15Z HRRR. This imagery is showing the surface base or SB CAPE and the surface base SIN or convective inhibition, along with the 0 to 6 kilometer vertical wind shear, which are the wind barbs. What we can see here is that throughout the afternoon and into the evening hours, we have values of SB CAPE, the yellow numbers representing values above 3,000 joules per kilogram from Louisiana into Mississippi and even portions of Alabama. There is some SIN which will have to be overcome, but there is a strong cold front coming through the area which will provide a lifting mechanism for any storms which need to overcome that SIN. And we saw that a little bit of a capping inversion on the New Orleans sounding in the previous slide. But we've got our high shear values. Our 0 to 6 kilometer shear is well over 50 knots for much of this area. So we've got our instability, shear, moisture, and lifting mechanism, and that's going to provide the ingredients for severe weather today. Finally, here we'll look at the 15Z HRRR model output for the simulated reflectivity. And what we've got is we've got a line of strong storms that are forming along the passing cold front, which is moving from west to east. And what we've got is we've got some supercells forming ahead of the cold front, some discrete convection ahead of the cold front. That's probably where our greatest tornado threat is going to be. And we see them forming in central Mississippi and central Alabama, that general area. But in addition, we've got some embedded supercell type updrafts within that linear line of convection coming into the late overnight hours, and that's going to provide a distinct tornado threat as well, as some of these quick spin-ups might happen within that line, which are very difficult to predict and warn on. So this is going to be a threat of tornadoes from starting early this afternoon, but also lasting well into the overnight hours. This is going to be a prolonged severe weather event where violent tornadoes, hail, damaging winds, even heavy rain leading to some localized flooding, they're all going to be possible. Putting it all together, here is a portion of the SPC outlook that was issued at 1630Z. We've got a high risk for severe storms stretching from extreme northeast Louisiana into central Mississippi and west central Alabama. And that is that really represents our possibility for violent tornadoes today. If we look at just the tornado outlook itself, there's a hatched region for significant tornado probabilities stretching across much of the deep south, with a 45% region in east central Mississippi and west central Alabama, indicating a very high likelihood of significant tornadoes to form there, which could be deadly and violent. So stay weather aware today. Listen to updates from the National Weather Service. Keep your weather radio, your cell phone, if you've got push warnings there close by. And don't forget to do everything you can to keep yourself safe. Make sure your basement is clear, or your tornado shelter is clear, and that you have a plan and a safe space to go to if and when severe weather strikes. That's all we've got for today. Stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you guys next time.